Welcome to School and Around, a podcast hosted by Branching Minds, featuring prominent leaders, subject matter experts, and thought innovators with their perspectives on the current challenges facing K-12 education. I am your host, Larissa Napolitan, a former teacher, instructional coach, and a member of the Branching Minds team, here to lead conversations and to shine a light on phenomenal educators and those that are on a mission to transform our schools and the lives of students. Maybe you've been listening for a while, or this is your first episode. If you like what you hear, would you do us a favor by rating and reviewing us on iTunes? This is a fantastic way to tell us you enjoy what we are creating. Also, if you want more MTSS resources, sign up for our weekly newsletter using the link in our show notes, and check out our website for all the blogs and guides you would ever need about MTSS. Today's episode dives into a topic that's making waves across education, the science of reading and how it fits seamlessly into the MTSS framework to revolutionize literacy outcomes. Right now, classrooms across the country are shifting approaches to teaching reading, a change that's reshaping not only curriculum, but mindsets. Why is this shift happening? What makes science of reading a vital part of the conversation? And how can MTSS help us implement it effectively? Buckle up, because we're tackling these questions and so much more. To understand the growing buzz around the science of reading, we first need a quick history lesson. For decades, the so-called reading wars pitted phonics-based approaches against whole language instruction. Whole language embraced things like recognizing words in the context of stories, while phonics zeroed in on breaking words into their smallest parts, sounds and letters, to build literacy. This tug of war eventually led to a middle ground called balanced literacy. And while balance sounds great in theory, it often left crucial elements like explicit phonics instruction by the wayside. The result? Too many students, especially those struggling with dyslexia or in under-resourced schools, they weren't getting the foundational skills needed to become fluent readers. Fast forward to today, research over the last few decades gave us the science of reading, a body of evidence from neuroscience, psychology, and education. This research shows exactly how our brains learn to read. And spoiler, it's not an intuitive process for about 30 to 40% of kids. And that's why a growing number of educators and policymakers are leaving outdated methods behind and rallying around evidence-based practices. Take Mississippi, for example. 10 years ago, they revamped their reading curriculum to align with the science of reading. Teachers got trained in structured literacy approaches that emphasized phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. The payoff? They saw impressive gains in literacy scores, proving that this shift wasn't just theoretical. It works. For educators, this means a couple of things. First, understanding that explicit, structured instruction in areas like phonics isn't just helpful for struggling kids, it's essential for all students. Second, the change starts with you. Schools need teachers and educators who are willing to adapt, collaborate, and commit to applying these research-backed methods. Now, all of this sounds amazing, but the big question remains, how do we take what we know about the science of reading and make it work for every student in every classroom? That's where MTSS, the multi-tiered system of supports, plays a crucial role. MTSS isn't just about providing support, it's about providing the right support at the right time. If you're new to MTSS, here's a quick refresher. It's a tiered framework with 3 levels of support. Tier 1 is what every student gets, high quality core instruction. Tier 2 gives extra help to students starting to fall behind through small group interventions. And Tier 3 is for students who need intense, individualized instruction, often one-on-one. Here's the kicker. Data drives every decision in MTSS, and that's a game changer when it comes to literacy. Imagine Alex, a 3rd grader who's struggling to decode words. An MTSS team reviews his universal screening data, which flags him as needing Tier 2 support. He's placed in a small group for explicit phonics instruction based on his specific weaknesses. Teachers track his progress every 2 weeks using simple assessments. If the data shows that he's still not catching up, the team then escalates his support to Tier 3, adding intensive one-on-one sessions. Now, without MTSS, Alex might have just coasted through school without anyone identifying his individual needs or without interventions that actually worked. For educators, use MTSS to keep interventions targeted and flexible. It's a lifeline for organizing classroom support without spreading yourself too thin. Now, you might be wondering, why is the science of reading such an urgent issue? After all, haven't we been teaching kids how to read for generations? Well, here's the reality. Long-standing inequities, mismatched teaching practices, and a lack of teacher preparation in evidence-based methods mean too many students aren't reaching their potential. Kids with dyslexia, for instance, are particularly vulnerable. They benefit enormously from the structured instruction championed by the science of reading. But when those practices aren't used, they struggle. And that struggle snowballs into anxiety, low self-esteem, and even an aversion to school. We've seen this play out on a personal level for so many families. One mom in Missouri testified before lawmakers after watching her daughter fall behind due to ineffective reading instruction. Eventually, she moved her child to a school trained in structured literacy. Within months, her daughter began catching up. Just as importantly, her confidence soared. Here's the bigger picture. For roughly 30% of students, failure to implement the science of reading isn't just a learning issue, it's a justice issue. Literacy is the foundation for nearly everything in life. Career opportunities, civic engagement, even navigating daily tasks like filling out a form. Those things depend on your ability to read. States like Minnesota and New York are addressing this head on, ditching old curricula, investing millions in teacher training. They're showing that change is possible, but it won't happen overnight. Educators, be patient with yourself. Implementing the science of reading isn't an all or nothing endeavor. Start by reflecting on your current practices. Are you addressing phonemic awareness and phonics in your core instruction? Are you using progress monitoring to guide your decisions? Small steps lead to big outcomes. Of course, no transformation comes without challenges. For many educators, adopting the science of reading and MTSS feels daunting. They're big things. Some might feel unprepared, especially if their teacher training programs didn't include these strategies. I know mine didn't. Principals, too, play a huge role in supporting this shift, but many are finding themselves in uncharted territory. One principal in Minnesota reflected on how overwhelming it can feel to lead these kinds of changes. He said, teachers understand that reading is everything, but they're worried about finding the time to learn new methods. His solution, he started attending professional development sessions alongside his staff, modeling that vulnerability and commitment to growth. He made it an important thing. The success of this movement hinges on collaboration. And if you're a teacher or an educator, lean on your district's literacy specialists or MTSS teams. If you're a school leader, create a culture where teachers feel supported and not judged as they learn and refine new practices. To wrap it up today, I want to leave you with this. The science of reading isn't just a trend. It's a revolution grounded in decades of research. And when paired with MTSS, it equips us to meet the needs of all learners, not just some. It's not easy work, but it's meaningful work, right? Every time you help a student unlock the power of reading, you're changing their future. Remember, change starts with small, deliberate steps. Reflect, learn, and collaborate. You've got this. Thank you for listening to today's episode of School and Around. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you found today's discussion valuable, share it with a colleague who could use some inspiration. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to Schoolin' Around, a podcast hosted by Branching Minds. Go ahead and subscribe to our feed wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, if you are enjoying our content, would you do us a favor and rate and review our podcast on iTunes? This helps others find our podcast and lets us know how much you love what we're creating. Branching Minds is an educational technology company using learning sciences and technology to help districts effectively personalize learning through MTSS. To learn more about us, check out our website, branchingminds.com, or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Branching Minds.